This is chapter 3 of NCERT, class 6. It's called Fiber to Fabric. So, and they are talking about Paheli and Bujo, who won the first prize in science quiz competition held at their school. They were very excited and decided to use the prize money to buy clothes for their parents. When they saw a large variety of cloth material, they got confused. The shopkeeper explained that some clothes or fabrics were cotton and some were synthetic. He also had woolen mufflers and shawls. There were many silk saris as well. Paheli and Bhujo felt very excited. They touched and felt these different fabrics. Finally, they bought a woolen muffler and a cotton sari. After their visit to the clothes shop, Paheli and Bujo began to notice various fabrics in their surrounding. They found that bed sheets, blankets, curtains, tablecloths, towels, and dusters were made from different kinds of fabrics. Even the school bags and the gunny bags were made from some kind of fabric. They tried to identify these fabrics as cotton, wool, silk, synthetics. Can you also identify some? So basically, what they are saying is that there are different kinds of things that we use that are made of cloth, and all cloths are made from different kinds of fabrics. So different kinds of fabrics, and how you can identify different kinds of fabrics, and you can also figure out which fabric can be used at which situation, which season. This is the purpose of this chapter. So help you identify fabrics, and also make sure that you become a responsible fabric picker, and also you know in which season which fabric will help you and live comfortably. Next is 3.1, variety and fabrics. So this is their activity 1 and activity 2. In activity 1, they are asking us to visit a nearby tailor shop. So collect cuttings of fabrics left over after the stitching. Feel and touch each piece of the fabric. Now label some of the fabric as cotton. So what they're saying is you can go to a nearest uh, tailor, or you can ask your mom to give you some silk, cotton, wool or synthetic, and you can staple them in your copy and mark them down, that which is cotton and which is silk and which is synthetic. So they're asking, do you wonder what these different fabrics are made of? Yes, this the answer to the question must be yes, because we have to wonder. This is class 6, and since we are learning the basic things, so we have to wonder what everything is made of, right? So when you look at any fabric, it seems a continuous piece. Now look at it closely. What do you notice? When you look at any fabric, what do you notice? Is it shiny, or is it nice to touch, or is it harsh to touch? Is it thick or is it thin? Is it soft or is it hard? Is it easy to tear or is it very strong? So all of these are qualities of fabric. So whenever you touch a fabric, you have to make sure that you analyze the fabric based on the basis of these factors I just told you. So pick a in activity 2, they're asking us to select a piece of cotton fabric in that we labeled in activity 1, and try to find out the loose threads or yarns. So take out the cotton fabric that you used, and just go near it and see it carefully. You will see that there are threads. There are threads attached to everything that is there is woven. So there are threads very closely tangled in each other. So you have to pick out these threads, and that is the purpose of activity 2. So you'll realize that every material is made from thin threads, right? Every cloth, most of the clothes are made from thin threads. In 2025, the technology has changed, and there are other fabrics also which are completely made of plastic. They also contain threads. Every fabric that you see is made from threads, right? The next up is 3.2, fiber. So these are saying that the thread that you took out, the piece of yarn that you took out from the piece of cotton, so place this yarn on the table. So when you do that, They're asking it to put it on the table and take a nail, your nail, and scratch it along its length. You will see that the yarn splits up into thin strands, right? It will split up into thin strands. These thin strands are called fiber. All these strands are arranged together, woven together to make a bigger fabric. So fabrics are made up of yarns, and yarns are further made up of fiber. Where do this fiber come from? The fiber of some fabrics such as cotton, jute, silk and wool are obtained from plants or animals. These are called natural fibers. Cotton, jute are example of fibers obtained from plants. Wool and silk fibers are obtained from animals. Wool is obtained from the fleece of sheep, from sheep or goat, or hairs of rabbit, or camel or yak. Silk, however, is drawn from an insect from the cocoon of a silkworm. Right? Now, this is a curious illustrative. They're saying Bujo has seen in the museum items like this. The ones shown here, these were worn by warriors. He wants to know if these are made of some kind of fiber. No, guys, these are actually made of metals, right? So warriors wore this because they wanted protection from other warriors' swords, and to protect themselves from attacks they use this iron or steel vests. And these are not fibers, these are iron threads woven together to make a vest like structure. So for thousands of years, only natural fabric were available for making clothes. In the last 100 years, like different fibers, um, different synthetic fibers, let us say from plastic, and which are not obtained from plants or animal sources, they are invented. Some of these are polyester, nylon, acrylic, right? So in 3.2 you learn about fibers and how clothes are made from yarn and yarn is further made of fibers, and how in the last 100 years technology have changed and now we have synthetic fibers. And polyester, nylon and acrylic are some examples of synthetic fibers. Some plant fibers is 3.3. They're talking about some plant fibers, which is, what are the plant fibers? Cotton is a plant fiber. Guys, is silk a plant fiber? No, silk comes from silkworm. So cotton is a plant fiber. Jute fiber is also obtained from the stem of jute plant. So in this they're talking about whether you have made wicks for oil lamps. So in the 21st century, in 2025, nobody uses oil lamps. Most of the people use LED lamps and LED lights, and maybe even candles sometimes. So when you see a candle, you see that there is a wick on top of the candle that you light up, right? That the flame that you make, that is made on a wick. So they are asking, do you know what makes these wicks? So this is cotton wool, also used for filling mattresses, quilts or pillows. So they are listing other um, uses of cotton wool, which is filling mattresses, quilts or pillows. So they are saying, take some cotton wool, pull it apart and look at its edges. What do you observe? The small thin strand that you'll see are made of cotton fiber. So they're saying ki when you take a cotton wool and you pull it apart and look at the edges, you'll see a small, very small fibers. All these fibers are made up of cotton. So these are the thin strands of cotton fibers. That's what they're saying. So where does this cotton wool come from? It is grown in fields. Cotton plants are usually grown at places having black soil and warm climate. Can you name some state or country where cotton is grown? Do anybody knows? that where is cotton grown? Okay, you can mention it in the comments. The fruit of the cotton plant are about the size of a lemon. It is about the size of a lemon and it contains cotton. After maturing, the balls burst open and the seeds covered with cotton fiber can be seen. There are seeds also in the fruit. Have you ever seen a cotton field that is ready for picking? It looks like a field covered with snow. Truly, guys. If you want to see, go to YouTube and search field of cotton plant. From these balls, cotton is usually picked by hand. Fibers are then separated from the seeds by combing. This process is called ginning. Ginning of cotton. Ginning ways was traditionally by hand done by hand. These days, machines are also used for ginning. Next up is jute. Jute fiber is obtained from the stem of jute plant. It is cultivated during the rainy season. In India, jute is mainly grown in West Bengal, Bihar, and Assam. The jute plant is normally harvested when it's at flowering stage. The stems of the harvested plant are immersed in water for a few days. The stems rot and fibers are separated by hand. That's how you make jute fiber. These are fibers are then converted into yarns, and then these yarns are then woven into fabric, and that's how it's done. Next up is 3.4, which is spinning cotton yarn. So in this they are teaching us how to make a cotton yarn. So they're asking us to take some cotton wool in one hand and put some cotton between the thumb and forefinger of the other hand. Now gently start pulling out the cotton while continuously twisting the fiber. So what they're saying is you have to take a cotton and gently pull out, and while you are pulling it out, you are twisting the fiber. This will make a yarn. If you do it very delicately, it's going to happen, and you'll be able to make a small about 3-4 inches worth of yarn. So this process is called spinning, and in this process, fibers from a mass of cotton wool are drawn out and twisted. This brings the fiber together to form a yarn. A simple device used for spinning is called a hand spindle, also called takli. Another hand operated device used for spinning is called charka. The uses of charka was popularized by Mahatma Gandhi. So you must have seen the photos where Mahatma Gandhi is sitting with an instrument in front of him. That same thing is called charka, and he used to weave cotton yarn to make clothes. And that was a part of independence movement. He also encouraged people to wear clothes made of handspun yarn, termed as khadi and shun, imported clothes made in the mills. So he wanted people to wear khadi and stop using the clothes made in mills in Britain. So to popularize and promote khadi, the government of India constituted a body called Khadi and Village Industry Commission in 1956 to just to promote um, khadi fiber. So this is what a takli looks like. This is a takli, and here 3.11, that is charka. So spinning of yarn on large scale is done with the help of spinning machines. And right now, huge machines and fast machines. So the things that human can do in 100 days, that machine can do in few hours. And this is the industrial revolution, guys. Next up is 3.5, yarn to fabric. So I told you how yarns are woven. So this is they're talking about weaving. So in activity 2, you might have noticed that fabric is made of two sets of yarns arranged together. The process in two sets of yarns together is making is called weaving. Let us try to weave some paper strips. So in activity 5, this is how weaving takes place, and you can conduct this activity at your own home, anywhere that you like. You just have to cut slit the paper, and then make paper strips and then weave them together. That's how it's done, guys. And Weaving of fabric is done on looms. The looms are either hand operated or power operated, and this is what a hand loom looks like. And if you want to see what a machine loom looks like, you have to search on YouTube. Knitting. Have you noticed how sweaters are knitted? So you must have seen your grandma make knit like sweaters at home, or caps, or socks at home. So it is called knitting. A single yarn used to make a piece of fabric. Have you ever pulled the yarn from a torn pair of socks? uh, what happens? A single yarn gets pulled out continuously as the fabric gets unraveled. Sock and many other cloth items are made of knitted fabric. Knitting is done by hand and also on machine. So that's how knitting is done, guys. There are so knitting is made from a single yarn. Okay. So, Paheli, I want to know if you have seen any fabric that are made of the fibers on the outer covering of coconut. What are these fibers normally used for? So, the coconut fiber that you see can be used for making bird nests. It can be used for burning. It can be used for making scrubs, body scrubs. So, there are many use cases of these coconut fibers. Now comes up is 3.6, which is history of clothing material. So see, in this chapter we have learned that there are before 1900s, there were just fabric that were derived from plants and animals, and now there are fabrics that are derived from neither. Instead, they are made from plastic, such as polyester and nylon, right? So this is 3.6 history of clothing material. So they're saying, have you ever wondered what materials people used in ancient times for clothes? It appears that in those times people used the bark and big leaves of the trees and animal skins and furs to cover themselves. So after people began to settle in agricultural communities, they learned to weave twigs and grass into mats and baskets. Right? Do you understand what this means? So, when people began to settle up in agricultural communities, that is a group of people that relies on agriculture for its basic needs. So, when they started living together, they started making baskets and mats using grass and twigs of trees and plants. Vines, animal fleece, and hair were twisted together into long strand. These were woven into fabric. The early Indians wore fabrics made of cotton. They grew in their region near the river Ganga. So the early Indians, they also wore fabric made out of cotton that grew near the regions near the river Ganga. Flax is also a plant that gives natural fibers. In ancient Egypt, called cotton as well as flax were cultivated near the river Nile, which were used for making fabrics. In those days, stitching were not known. People simply dropped the fabric around different parts of their body. Many different ways of draping fabric were used. Uh, with the invention of the sieving needle, people started stitching fabric together to make clothes. Stitching clothes have gone through many variations since the invention. But it is not amazing that even today, sari, dhoti, lungi, turban is used as an unstitched piece of fabric. Even lungi, turban, dhoti, sari, all of these things are unstitched piece of fabrics. Just as is a large variety of food eaten all over the country, a large variety exists also in fabric and clothing items. So now that you know, let's see the cycle of how cotton rolls are made into yarn. So cotton rolls through ginning are made fiber, then through spinning they are made into yarn, and using knitting and weaving the fabric is made. So there are only a few keywords: cotton wool, fabric, fiber, knitting. What is cotton wool? Cotton wool is a flower that is derived from the cotton plant, and then the flower is then converted into fibers, and then the fibers are then gin together to make cotton wool. What are fabric? Fabric is a piece of cloth that is made from yarn. What is fiber? Fiber is the basic component of our cloth, and it is made from plant, animal, and even synthetic materials. What is knitting and weaving? Knitting and weaving are the method of weaving yarn into a fabric. What is spinning? Spinning is a method of making cotton fiber from cotton plants, cotton flower, or cotton roll. What is a yarn? Yarn is a multiple fibers rolled up together that makes a yarn, right? Next up, let's see the exercise. Classify the following fibers as natural or synthetic. Nylon is synthetic, wool is natural, cotton is natural, silk is natural, polyester is synthetic, jute is natural. State whether the following statement are true or false. Yarn is made from fibers. True. Spinning is a process of making fibers. True. Jute is the outer covering of a coconut. False. The process of removing seed from cotton is called ginning. True. Weaving of yarn makes a piece of fabric. True. Silk fiber is obtained from the stem of a plant. False. Polyester is a natural fiber. False. Plant fibers are obtained from plants and their roots. Animal fibers are wool and silk. From which parts of the plant cotton and jute are obtained? Cotton is obtained from flower and jute is obtained from the stems. Name two items that are made from coconut fiber: bird nest and scrubber. Explain the process of making yarn from fiber. Then fiber is rolled up together to make a yarn. Okay, so that's how this chapter comes to an end. This chapter is called Fiber to Fabric, and we have completed this chapter in less than 25 minutes. We have also completed all the exercises. Everything that is left is the summary, and you are going to study the summary all by yourself. It is recommended that you conduct the activities to get a grasp, and after reading this chapter you will know which fabric is which, and how can you identify different fabrics, and how fabrics come from how fibers come from different sources like animals and plants and even synthetic. And you can also go up a little bit and learn how these fabrics can be used to sustainable wear in seasons. Okay, so that is how this chapter comes in end. Thank you. See you later.